Hello friends, today I'm working on a doll inspired by the Kingdom Hearts enemy Flantastic 7. This was a commission and the idea was brought to me by one of my subscribers. I thought it was such an incredible idea. So when I do a commission, I always start with a sketch to make sure that that's what the client wants. And she loved it, so we got started. I'm using apple white as a base. I'm just tying off her hair to keep it together while I cut it off and then using my clippers to shave it close to the head. I found this is the easiest way to get the hair off quickly. So I'm heating her head and neck peg with my hairdryer and then carefully pulling her head off. I use a screwdriver to scrape all the glue from inside her head. Then I'm using some needle nose pliers to pull the glue out from inside the neck hole. Using white paper as a background makes for a really easy cleanup. So I'm using acetone to take her face paint off, and I'm also making sure to take the paint off her scalp as well because she's going to have brown hair, not blonde. Older dolls can often get this staining around the hairline where the glue seeped out, so I'm using benzoyl peroxide to try and fade that and then putting that in a UV lamp to activate it. The client wanted dark brown hair with a light blonde highlight, so I'm preparing yarn hair in this sandy colour and then also in that brown. So I wrap it around my hand to make the length similar, and then I use my pet brush to brush out the yarn. I just wanted to show you a little bit in real time. The slower you go with this, the more length you can keep. I go reasonably fast, not super fast, so I do lose quite a lot of length. This is the method that I learned from Mizekito, so make sure to check out her channel. Once you've got it brushed out, then using a cool straightener, you need to run the straightener over it a few times and do it pretty firmly and pretty slowly. I find it helps to pull the hair apart a little bit to go over it and get it properly smooth. I'm painting her scalp with acrylics. You'll notice this on factory dolls. So because the rerouting spaces the hair not super close together across the majority of the scalp, doing this colours in those gaps. To be fair, with a yarn reroute, they tend to be quite full at the scalp, so it's not as visible, but I think this is kind of just best practice in the doll world, really. I know that some artists will reroute with the yarn as it is and then brush it out and straighten it. I prefer to straighten it first and then reroute with it. I think this helps to not over plug. I think that can be an issue with yarn reroutes sometimes. So I'm going with the brown, starting on the hairline. I twirl the end of the yarn to make it easier to get it into the needle, and then just plugging all around the head. Because I've moved her hair parts, I've had to add new holes. I usually do this just with the needle and the reroute tool. And then once I've got a section parted with that highlight on top, I'm just using the masking tape to hold it down so that I keep the part while I'm doing the face up. And so now I'm covering her hair, and then I'm just going to spray her with a couple of coats of Mr. Super Clear to prep her. I got good footage of the pattern making process, so I'm just going to go through that with you. I cover the doll in saran wrap and then masking tape. I only do this on half of her torso because we're going to mirror the pattern anyway. I then draw where I want the seam line, so the centre front line I draw as well. My client wanted a sweetheart neckline, so I'm making sure to draw that on now while it's on the doll. Then I cut the pattern off and then cut it into pieces. We're going to need a dart where the high point of that bust is, so I'm just going to clip that in. And then I lay it on my paperwork table. It's very handy having a paperwork table, and then just draw around that. I tend to write my pattern instructions in as well, so you can see I've done that little arrow thing. That means cut on fold. To get the shoulder, I put the two pattern pieces together and then just draw that around. This is going to be a puffball sleeve, so it doesn't need to be super accurate, and then I'm just using her arm there to measure. I'm cutting out that little shoulder piece so that I can slash and spread it. This is a method to manipulate patterns, so I'm starting with that original shape and then adding more volume into it to create that puffball. I'm just sticking that onto masking tape, and then I'm drawing around it again. I already added the seam allowance in the bodice pieces, and then I'm just going around it, roughly eyeballing it with the sleeve there. To create the dress, I used a piece of paper to find the circumference of her waist, which I'm then drawing 3 of because I want a puffy skirt as well, and then I used that paper again to find the length that I want it. So I'm just freehanding that curve there and then adding the seam allowance and the closure in the back. But because this is kind of uneven, just because of human error, I'm using the paper to then fold it to make it more equal. Then I'll draw around that again, and that's my skirt pattern. I created the dress on live stream. I actually had to make it about 3 times. I had some issues getting the sleeves on because I wanted to give her chiffon sleeves as kind of a contrast, and putting those onto the satin I really struggled with on this scale. It was pretty fiddly. Getting a sweetheart neckline on this scale is also pretty difficult. I have a couple of different styles when it comes to doing face-ups, so I wanted to make sure that I was going to be working in the style that my client wanted. I tend to work like this on an Ever After High face, and in terms of colouring, the client wanted a sweet looking face, so I showed them some of my previous work and asked if that was similar to what they wanted, and it was, so that was a really good kind of base point to work from. I tend to like putting eyebrows on a doll pretty early, I think, because eyebrows do frame a face so much. Once you've got those on, it's a lot easier to understand how big you want the eyes to be. I think I've been, in the past I have favoured very, very big eyes, and this doll has very big eyes, but I'm kind of trying and experimenting with smaller eyes more recently. I'm adding this contour here because the doll is such a flat single tone. Doing this helps sculpt the face a little bit more. I'm adding that little shadow to the corner of the mouth there because that emphasises like the squidgy cheek apples and makes the doll look a little bit more smiley, and then I think that helps with the doll looking sweet as well. I struggled with kneaded erasers to begin with actually, and then I found them invaluable. So when you're working with the pastel dust, I find it really helps to neaten edges or soften bits that you've gone a little bit too heavy with. I don't find them useful for pencil lines. I cannot get pencil off with them, so I still use my little Tombow pop-up pencil eraser thingy. I like doing blush like this, but I did get a comment saying that it looked like a doll had smacked themselves in the forehead with this kind of blush. This is kind of a style thing with dolls, I find, and I guess it's a love it or hate it kind of thing. I like to do that blushing around the lips as well, just to kind of give a little bit more dimension, but also if you do look at a human face, there does tend to be more pinky pigment like around the nose and lips and chin. I tend to work in quite a lot of layers. I know that some people manage to do their dolls in like 3 or 4 working layers, not including your sealing and your finishing. Mine is easily 10 to 15. I don't think I do a whole lot on them, and I do like to build up colour gradually. I think I'm a bit of a wimp, so rather than going in pretty heavy-handedly, I'll do quite a lot of layers. Also, I start my eyes off quite late. I know a lot of artists do start them on the initial layer, and I probably should start doing that, but again, I don't tend to have the eye shape refined until a couple of layers in, and on this one actually I changed them a little bit later. I'm just using a very, very tiny brush and quite a deep pastel for her skin tone to deepen those contours further. So in the past I have been asked to do a commission that was not my style, and I won't copy another artist's style. If you want that style, go to that artist, you know what I mean? And I did say to the client that I tried to be as nice as I could about it. Like it's always quite difficult saying no, but I did get abuse from that client afterwards, which was obviously completely inappropriate. I think they were quite young, and I do think we give passes to people that are young, but there's never any need for rudeness. Little Dolly Mixtures PSA, that there's been some kind of shady behaviour going around in the doll community recently, like not necessarily in commissions, but if you're in a collaboration or a swap or something and somebody's asking you to do something you're not comfortable with, don't do it. Just try and politely decline. I know it's hard to say no, but there's been things about like transferring money for other artists, and I think we're getting into a bit of shady legal territory if you're kind of handling money for somebody else on a third party kind of basis. It's not, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a great idea. Don't ever feel bad for saying no to like a collaboration or a swap or something, even if you're a little bit into it there. I joined a collaboration, and then one of the people in there was being really quite aggressive to me, and like one of the things with a collaboration is that I'm exposing my audience to these artists, and my audience is so important to me. I really appreciate you guys, and like when I was on live stream in Japan, you just brightened my day every time. I don't want to be like exposing my audience to somebody that's rude and aggressive towards me. Do you know what I mean? So I dipped out of that one. I don't know if the collaboration is still going on. Actually, that was kind of a shame. I do generally have really good experiences with collabs and commissions and things. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with them. This doll was really fun to work on. She was a challenge. I did a lot of learning, and we did her on live stream as well. So the person that commissioned the doll as well could come and watch and see progress, and that was really fun. And just being on live stream is really great fun. I've said to some IRL friends, it's like having a team of cheerleaders, like everybody giving you like advice or kind of telling you that you're doing a good job. It's really nice. So the eyes on this doll, the client wanted like a bluey green, and I wanted to keep them quite bright. That's like one thing I do try and get with my dolls. Initially the eyes looked a little bit wall-eyed, so what I'd accidentally done is misplaced one of the pupils. So if you look at human eyes, they're not central in the sclera, they're slightly towards the nose, and then also the pupils within the iris are not completely central, they're slightly up and in. Have a look at some portrait photography. I always find that really helpful for working on dolls. I think I used quite a lot of reference with this doll as well. I think it shows, and I do think she turned out really beautifully. So you can see just on one eye there it's a lot brighter, but because I'm going to do about 1 billion more layers, it comes down. I was just trying to get the whiteness in the iris, and obviously the pupil I'm going to do darker anyway. I'm sorry that I have been kind of absent on YouTube recently. I've been struggling with my health still. I think I spoke before that I got coronavirus back in January, and it just never really got better. I'm being treated for asthma now in the UK. I had chest x-rays and some blood tests and stuff, but the medicine isn't working yet. I think apparently it can take a while to find the right medication. I'm still having quite a lot of asthma attacks. I had one in the middle of the night a couple of weeks ago, and then I was put on oral steroid tablets, which I was told would make me feel incredible. They did not. I just felt really, really rough afterwards. I felt rough the whole time, to be honest. And when that happened, I got signed off work for a month because I kept having asthma attacks at work. And I don't think people realise like how dangerous that is. And it makes you feel so ill. I had no idea asthma was like that. Anyway, I want to just say thank you for supporting me while I've been gone. I'm still on Instagram, to be fair. And also thank you for like just over 2,500 subscribers. That's insane. I can't believe that's happened. Thank you so, so much. I haven't been working on dolls for a while, but I've just kind of sorted out all the things I need. So I'll hopefully be able to live stream and start recording again. Adding a lot of white over that, so this will come down with the next spray of Mr. Super Clear. I also erased that white up at the top segment of the iris there to give that more depth. This is going to be very, very subtle. We're going to keep working on it over a couple of layers. So here I'm fixing that iris. You can see that the pupils are not central within the iris, which looks a lot more real, looks a lot more human. I think when I do dolls, I often think that there are rules, and there really aren't, to be honest. Like so many people say that you can't use a wax-based pencil to do the face-ups, and I know that a couple of artists on Instagram do. I never have, just because I've been told not to, and then I've been told that it can be a bit chunky, but you don't know until you try. And the only issue being that trying things is costly. Obviously the Mr. Super Clear is the problem, but there really aren't any rules. If it works for you, it works for you. Just smashing on a load of eyelashes. Recently I really like to do eyelashes in brown and then black and then white. I think it gives really good dimension. On Instagram, I got a wonderful compliment. Somebody said that they thought these were inset eyes. I was like, that's amazing. Like, I do think they turned out really beautifully, but that really surprised me that they thought they were that like glassy. I do like a glassy eye. I really liked how her face up turned out. I think she was super cute. And more importantly than my opinion, the client liked it. So as usual, I've accidentally glued the pins into her head, and then I'm just taking that masking tape off. You do lose a smidge of yarn, but not enough to be noticeable, and then just straightening that fringe down again. I had a bit of trouble with her fringe, so I used some water here to kind of encourage it down, and then just let it set over her face for a little bit, and then just chop those off. So very luckily the client said that she wanted hair the same as Delightful's dragon Zeffie, and I was very intimidated, and obviously it didn't turn out the same. I think it turned out beautiful, but not the same. But I had a goal to work towards. So the best way I could find to curl the hair was to heat the screwdriver and then wrap the hair. Heat the screwdriver really hot, like the hottest my straighteners would go, and then wrap the hair around it really quickly. So the doll design has an applique of a heartless symbol on the front of the apron, and I just painted that onto black fabric. The acrylic paint will work as like a fray check, and once it was dry I just cut that out. And then glued it onto the front of the apron. The apron I made on live stream as well. I just used PVA glue. I'm a big fan of PVA glue. I can't find a good one in the UK. If you know a good brand that isn't super expensive, let me know. The ones I've bought have all been really liquidy. I made an underskirt that I added lace to finish the bottom of the dress. I didn't mention this, but it kind of ended up being kind of a mashup between Alice in Wonderland and the Flantastic 7, which I think is super adorable. I gathered the top of that petticoat and then I painted the hands white. The client didn't want lace cuffs on the doll, but I did want lace cuffs for the photos, so I made the lace cuffs, included them in the box, but they weren't part of the commission. I just thought it looked kind of more cohesive with the cuff that matched the apron and the petticoat. I'm sewing magnets into the bow piece and into the back of the apron as a closure. I don't like sewing dolls into clothes if I can avoid it. Like my Oiran did need to be sewn in. I just used jump rings here to kind of put the back ties where I wanted them, and then gluing that magnet with a metal tool. Oops. So for the crown I used some super light clay, the type that you use to make slime, and then painted that red, sprayed it with about 10 coats of Gloss Mr. Super Clear. Then I used the air dry polymer clay that I like to create the crown part, which I'm then painting gold. I used red because red is a good base for gold. It's the warm tones will show through barely, but I think it makes a difference. And you know, like I've got red, I'll just use red. If you didn't have red, obviously it wouldn't matter. And if you really wanted to, you could base coat it in red if you wanted to. So I didn't show the next part, but I made some leaves for the strawberry, and I used cork, silicone cork, in a piping bag to make the whipped cream at the bottom of the crown. So that's the crown finished. Still a bit squishy. I didn't show painting the shoes actually. They were, I think they're a Cleo Denial boot, and they were really quite luckily kind of perfect for this doll, and the client wanted them painted red and black, so that's what I did. She had a bit of body blushing as well, not massively because there's not really much of her body that's showing, just a smidge. Something that I learned the hard way about getting heads back on is to give them a squish when you're heating them, but be very gentle and just do it kind of around the neck hole, just because you can squish the face and it'll crack the sealant, and after all this work we don't want to be ruining face ups. So what do you think? I think she came out so cute. I'm really happy with her. She was a dream to photograph as well. I usually find photographing dolls pretty difficult, but this one I got loads of shots, loads of good ones. She's just such a fun little cutie. In my head she's kind of like the goofy Riku from Final Fantasy X type character. I just think she's absolutely adorable. She was fun to work on, and yeah, the client was really happy with her. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and you like the doll, please consider giving me a like, and if you'd like to see more from me, please consider subscribing and tell me what you think in the comments below. All of those things really help out my channel, so I appreciate everything that you do for me. Thank you so much. There's links to my Instagram and my Patreon in the description box below. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for 2,500 subscribers. I still can't believe that, and hopefully I'll see you again in the next one. I promise it won't be as long until I upload again. Thanks, bye!